let's talk about young adult contemporary and young adult fantasy. So I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while. I actually did film this video a couple of weeks ago, and then I went back and looked at the footage. I was about to edit it and I was like, I don't like this footage. I just felt like I was focusing in too much on some of the books I was currently reading, and I was talking about them way too much in the videos that I've uploaded recently. So I was like, you know what, let's wait until all those books are finished. You know, that part of my life is over now. Let's leave that in the past and let's just focus on the actual topic at hand. And because this is a chatty video, of course I have an iced latte on hand, so if you want to go grab a drink as well, we can have our drinks, we can talk about young adult fiction, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic. So I feel like for me this year has been pretty different reading wise. I'm starting to realize some things about my reading taste and the books I want to be reading going forward, and even what I want my channel to be representing going forward. And it's not like a huge deal, but I have definitely seen like a changing trend in my reading. I've always been a pretty big YA contemporary reader. Like even back in middle school, I was reading YA contemporary. The YA section was literally my favorite part of the bookstore, the library. It was the first place I went to and really the only place I went to. So I've been reading YA since I was probably around like 10 years old, 11 years old. So it's been a really long time, and I've definitely read contemporary books pretty consistently throughout the years. In the past couple of years though, like I'd say maybe the past like 5-ish years, I've definitely gone towards fantasy more than contemporary, or at least in the way that like the books that I buy versus the books I don't buy. I have so many more fantasy books on my shelves than I do contemporary books, but still when I'm looking at my statistics for the years, figuring out which percentage of books that I read were contemporary or historical or fantasy or sci-fi or whatever, typically, even though I don't own a lot of contemporary books, I tend to read way more contemporary books than any other genre. And I think it's mainly because that's just the genre that I have been so comfortable in. That's the one that I know the best. And it's also usually the easiest one to read really quickly. So I tend to gravitate towards those books, especially if I'm in a slump or I feel like I'm not reading enough. I will grab a contemporary audiobook and read that in a day, and there we go, I read a book. And for the past couple of years, that's been really great. I've definitely enjoyed reading a lot of the contemporary books that I've read. But this year has been a little different, and I don't know if it's because of me or if it's because of the type of contemporary books that are being published now, but I just haven't really found a book this year that I've really connected with that happens to be a YA contemporary. But specifically this year, I've definitely found myself like reading contemporary books and then not really loving them in the way that I typically do. And I think it's kind of a little bit of both, because I have reread some of my like older contemporary favorites and compared them to the books that I've read now that are published like this year or last year. And there's definitely been a little bit of like a tone shift or just like a writing style shift in YA contemporary that I don't really feel like meshes well with my tastes. Like for me, I really like descriptive, immersive, metaphorical writing. And I've noticed a lot recently, especially within the last year of the contemporary books being published, they don't have that writing style. It's a lot more straightforward, a lot more simplistic. And while I think that there is definitely some merit in that kind of writing style, it's not necessarily my taste. So I feel like it's kind of both things working at the same time, of like a shift in YA contemporary publishing, and then you know, not necessarily a shift in my taste, but just like realizing what my tastes are. Like once you realize the kind of books that you like to read, like, and what makes you enjoy those books, you start to see them more often in books, and then you also start to realize that those are the reasons why you don't like certain books, because those elements aren't there. And I talked about this in the video that I had tried to film earlier, but I was reading the book Fat Chance Charlie Vega, and while I was enjoying the concept and the story, I wasn't really enjoying the writing style. And it's a writing style that I've noticed, you know, throughout multiple different kinds of contemporary books. And like I said, it's just really simplistic. There's really no distinctive kind of style to the writing. It's very, I don't want to say generic, but it just all starts to sound the same. But like I said, I think that there's multiple factors into why I'm not enjoying contemporary YA. And I think another factor is that I just recently had a birthday like 2 months ago, and I turned 26 years old. So I feel like, you know, within the YA category, the genre that I'm gonna start to distance myself the most from is going to be contemporary. Like, that's just gonna be the first one to go, because I can't relate to that anymore on like literally any level. There's really no level within YA contemporary that I can relate to. Like, I can enjoy a YA contemporary book from a distant, reminiscent level, but I can't necessarily relate to it on any sort of like personal level. So that's another thing that's like missing from YA contemporary that hinders me from enjoying it the way I used to. And I definitely don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's probably a really great thing, because that just means that I am growing up, I'm maturing, and I guess it's just nice to see that YA is still clearly being written for teenagers, because as much as I love the YA category, I still want it to be written distinctly for teenagers. And while adults can enjoy those books, I want it to be clear that the intended audience are teenagers. So I really wanted to look at my 2021 reading challenge for this year, because I know that I've read a couple of YA contemporary books. So this year I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 YA contemporary books, and 3 of them I gave under 3 stars. So I think that's kind of showing that A, I'm not reaching for YA contemporary as much as I used to, and B, when I do reach for YA contemporary, I'm giving them pretty low ratings. I wouldn't say a 3 out of 5 stars is a super low rating, but because it's like more middle of the road, I'm gonna add it in there, because the book that I did give 3 out of 5 stars was pretty forgettable, so I feel like it kind of deserves to be in that category. And I think the really interesting thing is that while I'm not reading YA contemporary, I'm also not necessarily reading adult contemporary or like adult romance either. I've read 2 adult romances this year. I hated one of them, and then I really, really loved one of them. So it almost has like a similar track record to YA contemporary. So it almost feels like just contemporary in general as a genre is one that I'm just not interested in reading anymore. And that fact has definitely put me in a bit of a slump lately this year, because I'm currently in a slump right now, and I've been pretty slumpy throughout the year. And it's only May. It's not even like halfway through the year yet, and already I feel like I've been in like 5 slumps. And I think another thing is that, like I said earlier in the video, I have so many more fantasy books than I do contemporary, and I need to read them. Like, I need to actually like read all of the fantasy books that I own and that I am super interested in. And I feel like sometimes I will procrastinate reading those fantasy books and just kind of consume a couple of easy to read YA contemporaries that will take my mind off of fantasy, and it means I don't have to read all of the fantasy books that I own. But now that I felt myself take more of a step away from contemporary as a genre, I definitely want to see myself read more of the fantasy books I own, because there are so many of them. Literally, look behind me, so many fantasy books, and I genuinely need to get to them ASAP. So yeah, I don't know if this is something that's super relatable to everybody else. I don't know if we're all experiencing this distancing from contemporary. And another one of my theories for why I've been distancing myself from contemporary is that we've been in a pandemic for over a year, and contemporary just doesn't seem to be connecting with me in the same way that it was before the pandemic. Like, I don't really want to read about real life right now. I don't really want to read about people going out to lunch or going out on a coffee date or not wearing a mask or whatever. And it's not that like going out for coffee or going out for lunch is like an inherently bad thing right now, but it's just like I don't really want to read about the before times at the moment. I would much rather read like a historical fiction or a fantasy book or sci-fi, even dystopian I will take right now. But for me, contemporary is just, it's not clicking right now. And I think that, you know, while it is a lot of factors, it also is definitely because of the pandemic. And that might be a little bit more relatable to some people. I don't know about you all, but this pandemic has definitely changed a lot of my reading habits and even some of my reading tastes. So if that's relatable to y'all, like, leave a comment down below letting me know. I don't want to be like the only one that feels this way. But if you do actually have like really good, descriptive, beautifully written, immersive contemporary fiction, let me know down below. It has to have a really good romance though. It can be romance, but it can also be contemporary with a really good romance. I will take either genre. So let me know down below in the comments any of those recommendations that you have, and if you enjoyed this video and if you enjoyed this little discussion that we had, because I know I really enjoyed this discussion. It's definitely something I needed to get off of my chest. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads. You can also like this video and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!
Ooh, I thought it'd be me and you.